It's the summer of 2004. A young Herc the Horror Visuals is spending his days stuck inside his grandparents' house, eating ice cream, playing games on his Nintendo knockoff, and dying of boredom. One day, after begging his grandpa for some cash, he decides to go to the internet cafe in the neighborhood. While looking through the games, an interesting icon on the desktop catches his eye. It read Tuhod Exe. The icon had a scary looking zombie head on it. So, what was this Tuhod Exe? He wondered. Because the family was poor, they had sold the PC after father died, so he didn't really know what an Exe meant. He just thought this was the game's name Tuhod Exe. So he launches Tuhod Exe. It was everything he could have wished for. Because he didn't have a PC, all he did was to watch movies, especially horror movies, especially zombie movies. And this game had a lot of zombies. It was a gold mine for this little dude. So that was how I first met the House of the Dead series. Because I was always a fan of horror since I was a kid, the game was something else for me. Whenever I went to the internet cafe, all I could find was Counter-Strike 1.6, Half-Life, Need for Speed, Red Alert, stuff like that. Finding this game was a game changer for me. And I'm not sure if the game ever got released for PC officially even. It was probably just a pirated version of the original. I begged my grandpa every single day and went to that cafe just to play the House of the Dead, Tuhod Exe. Even after the summer break had ended, I just couldn't forget about that game. I always looked for it in other internet cafes, but I just couldn't find it. It was like a fever dream. Was that game even real? After all, I was writing fan fictions of it. I cannot forget, like, whenever our English teacher had asked us to create our own plays for the school's theater, I wrote the House of the Dead scenario. I even drew the scenes. There would be grenades, pistols, machine guns, zombies, zombies with axes, zombies with chainsaws, and let me remind you, I was only about 11 years old or something. It was bonkers. Fast forward to today, I just played through the House of the Dead remake on PC, and I would like to say a few words about that. Hello everyone, I am Herc, and welcome to this new horror visuals video. Today I'm going to help you decide if you should buy the House of the Dead remake, or wait for a sale, or never touch the game at all. This is as far as you go. This remake is made by a team called Megapixel Studio. It's been released on almost all modern platforms. I played it on PC and I will base this review solely on this version. I have no idea about any of the other versions. The game has a simple story, like very simple. You're a special agent working for a special organization, and your goal is to stop Dr. Kurian, who is apparently a mad scientist. He, for some reason, wants to destroy the world, and you're trying to stop him because you love the world, you love its people. Easy stuff.
I must compliment you.
Obviously, the story is a bit more nuanced than that, but this is what the game tells the player, and that is one of its problems. I know it is a remake, but they could have at least tried to tell the story in a different, slightly more detailed manner. Instead, they kept it pretty vague, just like the original, because you know how it was. Story wasn't really that important in those arcade games. The goal was to have fun. But now you're playing the game on your PC, in your house, and you expect it to be a bit more detailed. Unfortunately, it's not. The dialogues are still cheesy, the characters are still speaking and acting nonsense, a little bit of contextual polish would have been good for this game. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
But again, obviously, one doesn't really play the House of the Dead for its story, because the story really only takes about 20 to 30 minutes to beat. Yeah, the whole thing. But think about it. This game was originally released for the arcade machines, and I bet they were a bit more difficult at that time. Whenever you died, you had to insert coins in the machine. Coins that you had to buy with real money. So that's why the game is short. But the goal isn't to finish the game anyway. The goal is to have fun. So, is the game fun then? I mean, yeah, maybe. Depends. If you're a fan of the series, you will probably have fun while playing the game. It has multiple routes, multiple endings, multiple difficulties, a horde mode. Like, there is content in the game, don't get me wrong. If you're looking for the classic experience, you're gonna find it here. But if you're not a fan and you're gonna get into the series for the first time, I would recommend keeping your expectations in check. And you're gonna ask, but why, Herc? Why? Let me tell you, my dear friend, this isn't your regular single player experience. It's not a cinematic campaign, it doesn't have free movement, the routes and your options are pretty limited, and at the end of the day, the most you can get out of this game is the challenge. You can maybe try to beat a high score, play with a friend, try some light guns, maybe try speedrunning, but that's really it. If you're looking for that, you're gonna like the game. But if you're looking for a more traditional single player experience, I would say either wait for a sale or don't play the game at all. Maybe watch a walkthrough if you're so curious about it. As I've said, it only takes like 30 minutes at most. So what about the visuals then? I mean, it is a remake after all. Remakes are usually made for better modern graphics. Considering the original The House of the Dead is pretty old, this new one obviously looks better in terms of fidelity. But does it give that same feeling we had with the original? I don't think so. What captivated me about the original, personally, was its gothic atmosphere. The color scheme. It was dark, moody, gothic, and pretty scary at times. This new one looks like one of those remake projects you would see of random different games. Like, hey, I made Ocarina of Time in Unreal 4. Okay, congratulations. But the thing with Ocarina of Time wasn't its graphics really. It's the art design, you know? That's why Breath of the Wild looks good. It's not because the game has unbelievably realistic, great graphics, but it's because the art design is good. Graphics aren't the only thing when it comes to visuals. A graphically impressive game is only good for some time, but a game with great art design is forever good. I think The House of the Dead had that. It had good art design. While this remake has some good locations, decent lighting, one, it has bad graphics, two, it doesn't really have an art style. It feels and looks like a bunch of stock assets have been slightly modified and just thrown into the game. Although it's a short experience, the game has quite a lot of different locations, and most of them don't even feel memorable after all. They just look pretty bland and uninspired, unfortunately. I guess that's all I'm gonna say about this game, without going into too many technical details. If you're interested and you're a fan, you probably already bought the game and played through it a bunch of times. If you're a first timer, I suggest watching some gameplays and trying to understand what the game has got to offer in terms of content. But regardless, I wouldn't recommend buying it at full price. I think it's currently 25 euros on Steam or something, and I don't think it's a fitting price for this game. So either wait for a good sale or just don't touch it at all. The same team is currently remaking the sequel too, and hopefully they won't make some of the mistakes they've done with this one and try to change things a bit. Experiment, you know, add some interesting lore bits, some different enemy types, maybe different routes, interesting characters, you know. It's a series open for improvement. They can add so much more into it. Let's keep our fingers crossed. So, that was it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I wanted this to be a soft reboot of my YouTube channel. As I'm finally settled in at my new place, this new country, I can finally go back to making videos. The last few months have been pretty difficult and surreal, and I cannot thank everyone over at Twitter enough for their support. As always, you know where to find me. If you have any questions, any feedback, feel free to comment below. If you are unsubscribed, consider doing that and maybe leave a like on it too, so the algorithm gods help me get the motivation I need to make more videos. I'm currently working on a new video for The Sinking City, so hopefully I will be able to release that soon. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next one.